In American society, money is a taboo topic. We're taught at a young age it's improper to talk about it, but we're also bombarded with messages about the power and importance of money in our everyday lives. And by not talking about it, we miss out on the skills and lessons we need to effectively understand and financially plan. That changes today. Welcome to Money Tales. Hosted by Sandy Brager and Cami Doder, Money Tales brings more than 35 years of combined professional experience in personal finance to demystify money and demonstrate what it's like to speak openly about personal financial matters. Join us each episode as they interview modern-day movers and shakers about how money decisions intertwine with their daily lives in order to give you better insight into productive financial conversations. Subscribe today and register for our blog Fathom at aspiriant.com/podcasts to increase your money mojo. And now, here's Cami and Sandy.
Lisa Merlo-Booth grew up in a patriarchal household where money was power and control. In this conversation, she shares how that experience shaped her early beliefs and what it took to build financial equality and true partnership in her own life.
Here are 3 key money topics Lisa hits on in this conversation. First, when it comes to negotiating pay, ask for what you want rather than what you think you deserve. Second, why creating joint accounts and shared financial goals helps build true partnerships among couples and reduces money conflicts. And third, one of the greatest gifts of being in a relationship is sharing the weight of financial decisions instead of carrying them alone. Now it's our pleasure to bring you Lisa Merlo-Booth's Money Tales.
Welcome to the Money Tales podcast. I'm Cami Doder.
And I'm Sandy Brager, and we have Lisa Merlo-Booth joining us today, which we're very excited about. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Before we dive into your important money tales, there's been a lot in the press recently about a talent war in the AI space. People getting solicited from one company to another for hundreds of millions of dollars of pay. And this got me thinking about, how much is enough money to cause you to change your job and change your company around? Because those are some really big dollars.
It's shocking, Sandy. I kind of react when I hear when athletes get paid this amount of money, and now this is the new arena for these incredible bonuses, even not even the salaries, just a signing bonus.
With athletes, they have been highly paid for the last 30 years or so in particular. But the interesting thing about athletes is that their career runs tend to be a lot shorter than an average business person or even a computer scientist or AI scientist. Some of these job offers are going to people who are just out of college. And that can be a fraught time to have so much money waved in front of you. Great opportunity, but really test your purpose around your career, what you're doing with your time, what impact you're trying to make with the technology that you're working on, and what your plan would be for all those dollars.
Also, you're in your 20s and you're given that much money, I would imagine would question your integrity. How do I want to use this money and what am I doing? That's crazy amounts of money.
Sandy shared something with me recently, and I was listening to it, and they were talking about people not saying yes to $100 million, but eventually saying yes. They didn't at $100 million because they really believed in the purpose of the firm. This was a job switching situation where they were being recruited out of their existing, and they really believed in the purpose of the company they were at. So they said no to $100 million, but ultimately at a larger sum of money. And the reference was that now we're talking about generational wealth. How does $100 million not generational wealth? It's shocking. And that there's some number, that there's a tipping point.
It's hard to imagine that you can't pass on generational wealth with $100 million. Not in my experience. Like, what?
It's a lot of dollars. And that amount of money, I can tell you from experience working with clients, can really change a person's identity, increases the need for strong personal financial skills and knowledge because the money isn't typically cash that's paid. It's stock that is vested over certain periods of time. So very thoughtful decisions need to be made. And there's a whole communication plan that is needed to be made around the wealth, because when people enter into these contracts, it becomes known. All of a sudden, your whole social circle, your family, people you went to school with, people who don't know that you have a lot of wealth, and that can change things as well. It requires a lot of thoughtful consideration for the people who are getting those generous offers.
The blessing and curse of a lot of money. A lot of money doesn't come alone.
This is, I can tell, going to be a really great conversation. Well, let's officially welcome Lisa Merlo-Booth. It's really a pleasure to be speaking with you on Money Tales today. Would you briefly introduce yourself and share a couple pivotal moments that have taken place in your life that really impacted who you are today?
I'm Lisa Merlo-Booth. I am originally a trained therapist, and now I do a lot of relationship coaching with individuals and couples. So passionate about changing the relationship paradigm we've all been raised in. I have, fortunately, a loving marriage and 2 grown kids. I'm so old.
You don't look it.
And pivotal moments. One of the moments was marrying my husband, who I trust felt very much like equals and respected, because that wasn't what I was raised with. Creating a really healthy marriage was big. And then the other one was starting my own business, which I don't think I ever thought about being an entrepreneur, which is kind of funny because my family's very entrepreneurial, but I never thought of it, never really struck me. And going into my own business was breath of fresh air and such a wonderful shift for me.
Ooh, not scary.
No, and I don't know why, but I wasn't scared at all. I was just excited. I was like, I have to get out of all this red tape and people telling me what to do. And it's like, I want the freedom. And I just loved it. I still love it.
Thanks for sharing your pivotal moments and talking about marrying your husband and feeling immediately as equals. And that's how the relationship was. But that wasn't how it was when you were growing up. Will you tell us a little bit more about that?
My parents' marriage was very traditional. My dad was the breadwinner. He was the provider. There were 5 of us, so my mom took care of the kids. My family was also very patriarchal, and I would use the word now, misogynistic. Then I had no idea what that was, but my dad can go from 0 to 100 with rage, and everybody would tiptoe around him. I hated that. I was very committed to not repeat that.
How did that show up in how you were learning about money as a child, Lisa, and how you were relating to money?
I kind of saw the blessing and the curse of money early on. It gave us a lot of privileges and freedoms, but it also took him out of the home and took him away. There were costs and benefits to it. My parents did not partner around money because he provided and he decided how the money was spent or wasn't spent. He was very generous with money. And at the same time, we didn't talk a lot about money, but we didn't have it for a while. And then all of a sudden we had it. I just remember feeling a lot of embarrassment. I wanted to hide. I didn't want anybody to know we had money.
It's not uncommon to go from seeking money and then now you're at a place. Why do you think you felt that way?
I don't know that anything was spoken in our family, but I was very much, I do not want to be a snob. I don't want anybody to think that I'm better than them.
Fear of judgment.
Fear of judgment. I remember in college, my best friends, my college roommates coming to visit, and they saw our house. They're like, wow, I never would have expected you to live in this house. And I was like, thank you.
You were proud of that.
I felt like that's good. But it was definitely something I tried to hide. There was a negative thing around money growing up.
With that negative thing, as you were moving into adulthood and you're seeking your own path forward, how did money land with you then?
It was definitely a dance. Wanting to make money, but not wanting money to turn me into somebody I wasn't. I didn't want to become arrogant. I didn't want to get greedy. I didn't want to move into this power play around money. I remember working with a coach early on, and she was like, you want to give your services away. You're so worried about not wanting to be seen as making too much money. Do you realize that that money can also be a gift? and it can help you help others. I never thought of it like that. A friend of mine talks about abundance versus scarcity. For me, it wasn't necessarily scarcity. It was really about I can't have money and be a good person at the same time. And so I had to fight that. I think it took a long time.
So you're going from the either or to the both and. How did you get there, Lisa?
Kicking and screaming.
It's fascinating to be talking with you about this because of your background as a therapist and now a coach.
It's funny because with my work with couples, I saw the gifts. I have clients who have a lot of money and they really work for generational wealth, and how having all that money hurt them and them trying to do it different, and also the gifts that it's given them. I've watched clients and my dad use money as a weapon. So they're going to divorce. I'm going to make your life hell. You're going to pay. I'm going to give you nothing either to keep their spouse in the marriage, or I make all the money, so I'll give you an allowance. I just watched that. My husband's a professor and I'm a therapist for a long time. We're not making tons of money. So I had to do this balance of how do I earn more? How do I start to feel like I can actually charge more without feeling guilty? So that was my first thing. How do I charge more and realize, wait, I'm really helping them. It's not like I'm taking advantage, and I'm worthy. That was one of the first things. Another step in this is a funny story. I had a mentor and I was doing workshops with him, and I was co-leading the workshops. And then there was somebody that I was training to also help with the workshops. I had been working with my mentor for years. And then I had been training this person, a guy, for 6 months. We're at a training and we go out to lunch. It's my coworker who I'm training and our mentor. And my coworker, he says, I've been training with Lisa now for 6 months, and I think I deserve to get paid more. So my mentor's like, okay, well, what do you want to get paid? And he throws out a number, which happens to be what I'm being paid with years of experience. And my mentor's like, okay. And I was like, what? Hold on just a second. I'm training him and that's what you're paying me. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want?
So you hadn't asked really yet.
I hadn't asked. And I'll tell you, so here's my lesson. I didn't ask because I didn't think I'd get it. And I was like, Lisa, stop getting angry at the arrogance. I'm thinking, who is this guy to be so arrogant? He's just asking for what he wants and what he thinks he deserves. Lisa, you're asking for what you think you'll get. From then on, I was like, oh no, I'm going to ask for what I want and what I think I deserve. I'm not asking for what I think I'll get. And that totally changed my thinking also around money, and was like another step to asking more with clients, asking more for speeches, and not seeing it as selfish.
We've heard this a number of times, Lisa. There's a gender component. We heard from one of our guests. She was this amazing sales professional. She was doing so much more than her friend, who was a guy. She found out what he's getting paid. How do we break this down? How do we stop talking about it is super critical. That's our work on Money Tales. What else can we do to break this down?
There's a great book called Women Don't Ask. They found that with women, their very first job, right out of college, they're like, okay, we'll give you $20,000, whatever. Now it might be $40,000 a year. And the women are like, oh my God, I feel so lucky that they even want me. And the men immediately are like, well, can you give me more? Back then, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, men on average would get $2,000 more as a starting salary, which then over time, 3% and then 4% and 4% and 4%. And that is drastically changing what happens. So for females, one, you have to recognize this. Men are just asking, can I get more? Women are like, do I deserve more? Stop. Do I deserve more? Women are like, well, they'll offer me a job. I'm going to work harder and harder and harder and show them that I deserve it. And men are like, I don't even understand. What do you mean show them you deserve? I don't understand that question. I don't understand that thinking. Females, out of the gate, you have to start thinking, listen, ask for more. Anybody who's offering you a job, they're usually offering less than they can. And I deserve this. I'm a good hire. This is what I want. I'll be a hard worker. One of the things that drives me crazy with couples and money, if the male is the primary breadwinner or the only breadwinner, they give the women allowances. That is a parentship, not a partnership.
Say that again, because I love that.
If my husband is giving me an allowance, he's being my parent, not my partner. You want a partnership, not a parentship. And that means if you're not the primary breadwinner, you are still in those conversations about money. What are our financial goals? What do we as a family want to do? Your money is our money. That drives me crazy.
This makes me wonder, Lisa, about your experience with your husband early in your relationship, because you described your pivotal moment. You guys got together and everything was equal. Coming from a different paradigm into the marriage, how did you guys navigate the money aspects of it and achieve that parity and partnership that you're talking about?
Well, it was funny when we were young, we're like, okay, so this is what we want. You have a bank account, I'll have a bank account, and let's have a combined bank account because I don't want to buy you gifts out of our money. We didn't have enough money to have 3 accounts. We combined our bank accounts and then we were like, all right, let's have a budget. The basic rules that we started with is how much can we both spend a week? And then how much can we spend without asking the other person? But if it goes over that, we cannot do it. You can't spend $100 if you don't check with me, and I can't spend $100 if I don't check with you. The rules for one were the rules for both. I remember our very first budget. This is so funny. $25 a week we each could spend because we just didn't have it. And then it was $100. If there was an item we were going to spend that was going to be big, nobody could do over $100 for whatever that item was. So we had our weekly budget and then we had like our monthly budget we worked through.
You were using money rules over the budget to help you guys be on the same page as one another.
We had a goal. We wanted to do date night once a month. So we would put aside, we would have like a little fun account. If we went under our $25, that could go to the next week. So if I only spent $10 this week, then next week I'm getting $35 because I'm saving. And so it didn't matter how we did it. We had kids. My husband, he was getting a paycheck. I was earning my own. So his paycheck, we would put $50 into a holiday fund or $50 into a vacation fund. So by the end of the year, we had that $1,000 for our vacation. And we started doing all these little mini savings accounts to help us.
Sometimes it's easier when the money's smaller in the beginning. Share with us, how did that evolve as your money started changing for both of you, either collectively and individually? Then I want to go into how you coached clients, because it can be tense, especially when there's disparity.
One of the biggest adult moves was retirement. If I could go back, I would do it differently. I knew to my first job, start your retirement fund. So we knew that, but my husband was getting matched. So if he put in 5%, he'd get matched 10%.
By his employer, yep.
I never got matched. Even when I was working for others, I didn't get matched in the therapy field. You're not getting matched. So I didn't put the maximum amount in. I put in what we can afford. And I would say put the max in because at that young age, you can never afford. So I wish I had done that differently. Our first grown-up thing was a retirement. And then also we did an education account for our kids. At first, we were going paycheck to paycheck, but still we made sure we did that. I know growing up, my dad, he just took it for granted he'd always have money. So he didn't set any of us up. He didn't set my mom up. And then he lost it in the stock market. And I remember thinking, let's do a retirement as soon as we can.
You brought up something else that's also very common. People generate money and they think that now they've done it, they can continue to do it over and over again. That's not always the rule.
Yes. And you don't know. Random things happen in the world, in health, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. Let's get into the money aspects of the work that you do. To set the table for this part of the conversation, reminding us the difference between therapy and coaching as you apply it to the work that you're doing with couples.
So the biggest thing that I say is if there is a diagnosable mental illness, then I will refer the individual out for treatment. If it's depression or anxiety that's not being treated, I'll refer them out while I work on the relationship issues. I'm focusing on creating healthy relationships. We do look at family of origin. We do look at those patterns because it's impossible not to look at those and how you're repeating them. That's really the biggest shift for me around therapy and coaching.
And then when money comes into the picture?
So money is interesting because I tend to work with a lot of couples where they're either new relationships, so they're already divorced and coming back, or they've been in a marriage for a long time and these power shifts are there. One of the things around money, as I said before, is it's really important that everybody has a say in the money. The two biggest mistakes that I see with money is one, that the person who's making the money controls the money. That sets up tremendous resentment. It also sets up a lot of power issues. Often that's a gendered thing. I have yet to find a woman who's the primary earner, which there are many women who are primary earners, who's also controlling the money. I don't see it going that way. I see it when the men are the primary earners and when a male is giving the female an allowance, the job of the female is to find her voice and speak up and not be like, well, that's the only way it can happen. I take men on, I take women on. I'm very different. I don't play even. If it's really off, I call it out. And I need the other person to stand up for themselves. So I'm working with them to stand up, and then I'll work with the other person to hear it. That's number one when they're married and if they have a primary earner. The other mistake that I see is two people, they were divorced. Now they've come together. They may not be married, but they're living together. Let's go second marriages. This really surprised me because they're second marriages, but they're living as though they're single. So they have two totally separate bank accounts and there's no joint account. That's a huge problem because it sets up money as a constant conversation. We're going out to dinner. Well, you pay today. And we're going to go on vacation. Well, how about you pay this?
They're Venmoing each other back and forth.
There's no partnering around money. What I first teach them to do is you have to create a joint bank account, even if it's, this is our fun account, this is our spending. Let's each put this percentage of our income into this account. We'll each put in whatever, $500 a month. And this is how it's going to be spent. Because otherwise, you're just setting your relationship up to have constant conflict around it. And there's no building together financial goals. That's one of the biggest problems I see.
Do you help them set their financial goals?
I'm not helping them invest. I encourage them to speak to a financial one that they both trust, not just this person's or that person's. Again, it's about partnership. You don't know better just because you're making more, or you don't know better because you've had a financial advisor. Maybe I don't like your financial advisor. So it's really about opening up the communication, and every voice is an equal voice.
I really like what you're saying because you're making it very clear that when two people are in relationship with each other, that relationship is its own being and it needs to be treated that way. I would agree with that from the financial advisor perspective. All of what you're saying is spot on from my experience. I think in those blended couple relationships, it can be tricky, the money side, especially if there are significant assets on either side and family members that may be dependent upon those assets someday. That can cause things to be tricky. But you're absolutely right. There needs to be a togetherness to really forge that bond together financially.
And if you're married, you should open up your finances. Why is it secret? If you're holding your finances secret for some reason, then there's a trust issue. Check out that trust issue. What's going on? It doesn't mean that you have to give everybody your finances. No, protect them, but also there has to be some type of goal. That's one of the gifts of being in a relationship. We're together. There's two of us. You don't have to hold all the weight of the finances on your own. You don't have to make all those financial decisions by yourself. We are doing it together, which is to reduce the weight. Otherwise, stay single. And if we're not going to talk together, then it's not really a relationship. And you're losing one of the biggest gifts.
Tension between privacy and secrecy. I think sometimes shame can come in there too on the secrecy side. Not only distrust, but the shameful feelings, circling back to what you were sharing about being a young adult and wanting to balance how other people were perceiving you and the access to money that you had.
Well, that's what I love, like Brene Brown. Shame grows in secrecy. So talk about it. Don't hide it.
Lisa, you mentioned you have adult children. I would love to hear how you raise them around money. How did you think about bringing them into an understanding and appreciation with money?
We had great ideas. I wish I had done it way better because I was fighting my own money stuff while they were growing. It's like, what we did at first with their allowance, they got to keep some, save some, give some. We did that. And I feel like we didn't do it consistent enough. I would have let them earn their money more and buy their own things more rather than coming in and saving them. And I think growing up, we were just given money so easily. And I think that rubbed off too much on me where I would give them and I would shift that. We have two different kids. One, money goes right through, and the other one won't spend a dime and has so much money.
Funny how that happens.
I kind of have that same dynamic, younger kids.
It's so common. It's the funniest thing. I didn't know what the hell was going on with money enough for me and for my husband, for us to kind of pass it on. They're doing it probably in spite of us a little bit.
It's never too late. Sounds like you're having conversations now, which is great. And we all do our best. And you're taking your experiences and sharing it with them. I think that's really neat.
Lisa, one of the things I'm enjoying about this conversation with you is your reflection and your honesty of pointing out where you could have done things differently and the acknowledgement. We all go through life doing the best that we can. We do learn along the way, and it's helpful for you to be sharing your stories and allowing all of us to learn from you. Please tell us, what's your next money conversation going to be and who's it going to be with?
We're in an interesting situation, just health-wise and all that. So it's with a financial advisor. I need to get a financial advisor, and really about security and the future and freedom, given a lot of what's going on in our country, in our family, our ages. I feel like I'm 20, but I'm not. So finding that balance.
We applaud that. Obviously, that's the business we're in, and we think it's so important to help. We don't have to do this all by ourselves, and there's experts out there that really can guide and prompt and educate. So congratulations, and we're here to help where we can. Lisa, would you share with our listeners where's the best place for them to find you?
LisaMerlo-Booth.com.
You make it easy. That's great. As Senny said, it's been incredible to have this reflective conversation. You're really sharing what a good conversation is all about when we get ideas as a result of the questions asked. And it's been really a treat to connect with you in this way.
It's been a lot of fun. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Money Tales podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with someone you think would benefit from listening. And leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Your ratings and reviews help more people find our podcast. If you're inspired to gain clarity and peace of mind about financial matters, don't hesitate to reach out to our team at Aspirient. Go to aspirient.com/start a dialogue. Or you can email Sandy and me at podcasts@aspirient.com. See you next time.